Hi, Jay. Muchas gracias for your time.
De nada. I've been through so many relationships and all sorts of, romantic and family and friendships that are painful, but also amazing, and so to somehow get a chance to work out regrets you may have or a certain amount of self-loathing and, self-torture over these things, I find it helps me a lot to laugh at myself, to laugh at, we pathetic, fragile humans that we are. And, I think I've been lucky to work on screenplays with screenwriters who care about those things too. And Tony really is amazing at that. And I think he raises so many questions about, I was thinking about this just now, walking over, that there's a aspect of relationships. I remember there was a love story. Do you remember, anybody remember this film where love means never having to say you're sorry? And to me, love means always having to say you're sorry. You can't say sorry enough, and to also say thank you, because gratitude and contrition, I think, go a long way. And I realize Tony really gets that. Yeah, you can say you're sorry, and you can also say I love you, but you can speak in a love language that can be honest and out there. And that's one of the things I loved about the script, is that this couple in particular, Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch's characters, seem to be able to say absolutely anything, like even the darkest things to each other, and still be in a place of trust at the beginning and giving each other the benefit of the doubt. But as soon as the ground shifts partway through and they're off balance a little bit and their egos kick in and their fears, then the trust slips, and this very enviable couple starts to be, oh no, there's some real structural deficiencies in this situation. And I think that's relatable. I really love that dinner scene where you think they're still able to use that love language. We kept calling it their unique form of love language, but it's pretty harsh. And when other people hear it, they think it's funny, but there's truth in it. So it starts to unravel. And I love hearing the Americans try to imitate it and then fail so miserably. I think the main parameter, or the main sort of asset you throw at that tonal challenge, is just great casting. When you get to work with Benedict and Olivia and you see how good they are at taking Tony's character design that's in the story, but then adding their own specific elements to their own personalities, I think the audience trusts them, and I think they trust the tone more because they feel like they're in good hands with such a good cast. Then you bring in, Andy Samberg and Kate McKinnon and that whole Allison Janney, that whole crazy cast, and they get more permission to go a little further because they're the wild cards. You have the grounded relationship, but the new force are these great comedians who get to do some pretty crazy thing. They're throwing, as we were saying, they throw the screwball pitch, which I just learned today means a curveball in baseball that's just a little off and a little unexpected, and that's where the word screwball comes from. And that's really what those wild cards do. I don't think so. They gave me so many choices. Sometimes they would say, just roll the camera. Both Andy and Kate especially would say, just roll the camera. And they would try like 5 or 6 different improv versions of a line. And some of the craziest ones worked the best, again, because it's not expected. And I think the tone of the overall film gave permission for some very edgy humor. And I think we pulled it off. So they were close before I even came in. They had worked on the script together with Tony and Searchlight, and I was brought in late. I think maybe because I've made films like Meet the Parents and things like that, where they knew tone was the challenge. And they had so much love and respect for each other. And there are scenes that are so almost, heartbreaking to experience, that are very, very dramatic, and they're saying some unbelievable things. But then, they're not particularly method actors. As soon as I would say cut, they would crack up and, give each other a hug. It was enjoyable. But I had to try to, it was fun to try to keep the conflict going, actually, and make it as tense and suspenseful as possible.